Hi, everybody. I'm Brandon Gustafson. I own and operate two assisted living facilities, and I created this channel to help people like you learn the ins and outs of investing in assisted living. Welcome to Assisted Living Investing. In our last video, we talked a little bit about how do I set expectations with my facility administrator. Go ahead and watch that video. I kind of went over that process. And today we're going to get into different types of organizational charts that you're going to kind of encounter as you're going through the process of trying to set up your facility and operating your facility and things like that. So really, there's going to be two different types of organizational charts that you're going to hear about as you kind of go through this process. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. Number one is going to be organizational charts that a lender is going to ask you for. And it's going to be actually separate in nature from the organizational chart that you're probably thinking about as you're setting up your facility. The organizational chart for a lender is something that they kind of want to see more the information around how your entity is structured. Is kind of the gist of what they want. So when you're working with a lender, you're going to see a request for an organizational chart. The lender's organizational chart is not the same thing that you'd have for operating your facility. This chart is going to be a little more focused on ownership structure, like I mentioned. Typically going to be looking for something that is more focused around ownership. So a simple structure would show something like this. You've got your entity name at the top, and then it splits into the different owners of the group. And I'll have that down in a link here in the bio for you to kind of look at as a free resource. I'll also put that on assistedlivinginvesting.net for you, so you can use that if you need it for lending purposes or just kind of help you set up your own entity. First example, what you've got is two ownerships, and they each have 50% ownership. So you have the entity at the top, the assisted living entity, and then you've got two owners. You can see the lines that go down, and it goes into owner one and owner two, and they each have 50%. And so you just kind of label it that way. It's very simple. It's a super simple structure for how the lender's going to look for it. That's really all they need. They don't need much more than that. Let's use an example now where you have three owners. Let's say that one owner has 50% ownership and the other two owners have 25% ownership. So this is what that's going to look like. You're going to have, your entity up there at the top, your assisted living entity. Owner number one is going to have the 50% ownership. Owner number two is going to have 25%, and owner number three is going to have 25%. You can adjust those numbers very easily to match your needs. You can add in different ownership, different owners and how much percentage they own and different things like that. But this is the type of organizational chart, organizational structure that the lender is going to look at. That's what they need. They don't need to know all of your different people within the company or administrator, all that stuff. They want to know ownership, how that's structured, and what it looks like. So that's the example of what a lender wants. It's a little bit different. All right, now we're going to get into operational organizational charts. And this is probably something that when you think of an organizational chart, this is what you are probably thinking about. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this. So when you're working at your facility, your organizational chart is something that's going to be reflective of the way that your business is structured. So the chart is going to look something more like this. You've got your ownership group at the top. It goes down. There's a single line that goes to the administrator. And then from there, it's going to go to things like the house manager, if you have one, and caregivers and things like that. There also might be some dotted lines that go over to people like nurses or cleaners or contractors or different things like that. They would be dotted lines going up to the administrator, or maybe you have the house manager kind of managing those people or something like that. But they're not all in your organization. They're not your employees. They're more contractors. And so they're dotted lines to each of those areas. So this is the type of organizational chart that will be probably more valuable to you as an owner and also to your facility administrator as you're kind of getting in there. Now, the next big question would be, do you need to maintain that organizational chart? The short answer is no. There's no need to do it. You might need to update it to submit your organizational chart to a lender on an annual basis when you're renewing your loan, which is a common practice for an SBA loan. So you might have to do it there, but really that structure is probably not going to change all that much. And so you probably don't even need to do that. But it is something that you might want to visit on like an annual basis, that operational organizational chart with your facility administrator, just to make sure that things are in line and you're clearly communicating your expectations, which we talked about in our last video, that I'll put in a card up here for you to kind of go and reference. But it's probably a good thing for you to have that there, just so that you can continually make sure things are in line and what you expect and everything's good. You don't need to identify anything that needs to change, but you don't have to do it. There's no legal requirement. There's really no requirement or anything like that. There's no fines that you're going to get or anything like that. So you don't have to maintain that org chart. It's just helpful to have in place. It helps you kind of organize your thoughts and get things where you need them to be. I've provided these sample org charts in a link below, so you can go and use those. They're also on my free resources tab on assistedlivinginvesting.net. So please go and visit me over on the website. Would love to see you over there. In our next video, we're going to be getting into positions in an organizational chart for an assisted living. So I talked a little bit about, administrator, caregivers, house manager. I'm going to get into a little bit more who those people are, what their roles are, and how they work. So go ahead and watch that in the video up here. And in closing, to learn more about investing in assisted living, make sure you visit me on assistedlivinginvesting.net for other content, set up consulting calls, and also follow me on all my other social media platforms. And just remember, just keep making step by step. It doesn't take a lot, just a little bit, step by step by step. You're going to get there. Keep making progress and you'll be successful. Thanks for watching and have a great day.